Dawson's Rambles.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here. Welcome to another ranking video. Today we're going to be ranking all of the Power Rangers and Super Sentai purple/violet related Rangers. Now this is going to be mostly all-inclusive. I'm sure there's going to be some character someone's actuallying me about, but by all-inclusive I mean I included Ranger adjacent stuff like Void Knight, Korag, and stuff from the comics, as well as like all the shades of purple, purple-violet, stuff like Papillion Olger, who's like one of a kind, but I want to just include all of that for the most part. Again, I'm sure there's still some unactuallying, but if I forgot anything, or you're upset that I'm including like non-rangers or what are categorization BS, this is just supposed to be fun, guys. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I also do plan on doing some character rankings of the Sentai mmpr Purple Rangers in honor of the debut of BoonViolet. This is why I'm doing this list in the coming weeks. But yeah, again, let's get started again. I said I could get started and then I continued with more preamble. So, coming in at the bottom of the list is the mmpr Purple Ranger Bulk from the comics. I like the concept of this. This was just meant to be a fun story. It makes sense why it's a silly design, but I think that this was a missed opportunity. I think it would have been really cool if it had a little bit more balance between the silliness and something actually kind of heartfelt, because Bulk and Skull did have those moments with wanting to be Rangers, but I'm just not a fan of the over-the-top, too cartoony design. Very much reminds me of those weirdo Infinity designs we just got, but it's just not my thing. I like the concept, just not the execution. Coming in then after that is Tokyo 7 Go. I can't remember what the name for the number is because I never heard it enough. I think it's Nanago, I want to say. Grandma Go? I don't know, but anyway, so this purple Tokyuger from like post-series specials. Now, I don't hate this suit. There's a couple lower on this list that were basically just recolors, and that's the only reason. I thought this was neat. I always like to see more Rangers later on and see what suit designs you come up with, but it's basically just a slight redesign, slight repurposing of Rokugo's, like with a helmet and stuff. They did give him like different, suit and all that stuff, and I do like it. I don't hate this at all. It's just a little bit boring because it's kind of just more repurposed, which makes a lot of sense. In a way, it actually kind of reminds me a lot of the Orange Cosmic Fury Ranger, where it's just this very slight repurposing. Speaking of, very next on that list is this list is Duo Condor, which is the purple repaint of Duo Bird and Duo Eagle. Is it Duo Eagle in that series? I don't remember the naming convention. Regardless, another repaint. This one even more so, like they did more to change Rokugo or Nanago or whatever. But I just like this one more. I've just always have liked the Red Ranger suit from Duoger, and I was always a big fan of Duo Bird because I'm a sucker for Orange Rangers. And so even though this one is even more boring repaint, I just happen to like the suit a little bit more. And I just want to say it again, I don't hate either of these suits. I actually really quite like them and think it was neat we got them. It's just because that they're basically repaints that they're lower on the list. Next up, right now, and I guess you would say a tentative placement, is our most recent entry, BoonViolet. I really do like the suit, honestly. I'm not sure if it's my favorite, but I do appreciate it. I like the color scheme. I like the slightly bulkierness. I like the uniqueness of the material. It's an overall solid suit, and the BoonBoomger suits have really been growing on me overall, and this one's no exception. But right now, this is just where it sits. I do like it, but there's just others I like more, and that's the simple reason. It's not because I hate it. And who knows, maybe as I see it in action more, it could move up on the list. After that is the female version of Ryu Violet. Now, as you can tell by me saying the female version, the male one's a little bit higher, which I'll explain, but I don't hate the female version at all. It's just really weird because I do love the Plesio aspect. I think that's a really unique one to base one off of, kind of like we did with the Mosasaur. I think those are two of my favorite ones in terms of like unique prehistoric creatures we base it off of, so I really do like that. But for whatever reason, there was just something always slightly off about this one. I feel like the helmet just feels a little bit too big, and I just don't like it quite as much as the male variant. You're probably expecting the male one to be up next, but there's one that I squeaked in between the two of them, which is the Dimension X Purple Ranger, and I actually really like these suits a lot. I think they're really great, they're really slick, they're really badass. I love the concept of them, of Dimension X having their own powers for the turtles. The only reason it's lower on the list, outside of the fact that I like the other suits higher, is because since these suits are all so samey, they're just kind of slight recolors, it's just not as standout. Most of the other ones on this list are very individualized, whereas this is just kind of one of four that look basically the same. And I also have some mixed feelings about, I do like the fact that it's almost got a primary gray color, which makes it unique, but also makes it less purpley. But yeah, I do really like this one. It's just there's other that are better and that are more individualistic. After that then is the male variant of Ryu Violet. Again, this just works for me a little bit better. I think just the helmet fits more, and I just have always really liked it. It also feels like this kind of special one-off thing we got, and feels very Spirit Rangery, just like Cyan and Graphite or Gray or whatever. I don't know, I always really like this one a little bit, just a little bit more. It's nothing against the female variant, but there was just something that clicked with me more about this one. Plus, it was kind of a fun story in both Sentai and PR when we got this character. Coming up next is Stacy or Stacaesar, who just wants you to keep standing Caesar from the Planet of the Apes movies. But I do like the suit quite a bit. It's really funny. When I first saw it, I actually thought it was, and I hate to say that as a reference, but this was a series where stuff was made to be a reference. Like, there's so many times where the Toku community thinks everything's a reference. Like, oh, dropped toast on the ground, it's a reference. Anyway, probably a bridge reference, they're thinking. I thought it was meant to be like an homage reference to Akiba Ranger, and then people were like, it's obviously Battle Fever J, and I never thought of that because when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't think like, oh, get away from me, you creeper, like when I see the Battle Fever J suits. So that was kind of funny, but I have to say I do appreciate that. Obviously, as you can tell, and maybe you could tell by past videos, not a fan of the Battle Fever J suits, but I actually appreciate that they wanted to do something based off of that, and they made something actually pretty cool out of it that works pretty well, stands out as pretty unique. I like the purple and black contrast. Overall, really do like this suit. Next up is the Solar Ranger from the comics. I recently talked about these in a couple different videos, namely the most recent comic review where they came back, but I think the Solar Ranger suits, period, are very underrated and overhated, like a lot of the Boom designs. But in particular, you know, I mentioned I like the the Beyond the Grid Solar Rangers team because they're more unique, but just honing in on the core Solar Ranger design with purple, who's the original Solar Ranger. What I liked about it, as I said in that video, is it has like this very core Ranger aesthetic and yet feels slightly alien, which I just really like. I think it's very well designed and very underrated. Now, just as a quick, like not official pick, but honorable mention because I didn't decide to include power-ups, but because this was a more drastic change, if I was including this as just kind of a squeak in on the side thing, is the power-up Cockpit Mode 2.0 for Dino Charge Purple. I just wanted to highlight it because I really like it. I really like these cockpit modes. I thought it was a great extension of the simple battery vest. I think it looks really cool with a slightly altered helmet with the missing mouth, and then I think they have some extra accents up here. It's my favorite version of the Ryu Violet Dino Charge Purple suit, and if I were to include it, I just wanted to bring an honorable mention here. So it's not a part of the official list if you're one of those people that's a stickler for that. Next up is Don Murasame. When I first saw Don Murasame, I really did like the suit quite a bit. I felt that the general design symmetry of the helmet was a bit too similar to Kiji Brother, but that's not a huge deal breaker. But as the series went on, I fell more and more in love with the suit. The suit helmet, you can't deny, if you put the silhouette next to Kiji Brother, they would still look very similar, but it's just a great suit. Honestly, the Don Brother suits are all very well done, and every time it appeared on screen for a fight, I loved it more and more. The only thing I don't like about it is how underserved the character was. Was it even a character? It was just a weird little kid AI in a sword. I don't know. They could have done better with this. It was clearly just there for the merchandising, but regardless, it's a great suit. Next up is Geysorg / Void Knight. Again, this is a Ranger adjacent pick because he's kind of like a Ranger-esque sort of ally and stuff, but I always like this suit, you know, a clear, I don't know if it's probably an homage to Korag. I hate to say that because, again, everyone thinks everything's a reference, but very much giving you Korag vibes when you first saw him, and Korag's obviously going to be higher on this list, and I automatically loved it because of that, and I think it's a very well-designed suit. I really love the helmet as it feels like a much more even full accentuated version of the Knight theme. It's probably the most the little drill insignia design works. I'm not the biggest fan of the way it looks on the main suits, and it just looks really great. You know, I would going into Ryu Soldier, I was kind of hoping that they were all going to have more maybe armored bits since it was Knight themed, and this really kind of, you know, satisfied that urge to get something that was more Knight themed. It was just really well done. Not to mention, Geysorg and Void Knight were also highlights of both of their respective series. Following that up with Ryu Commander, I struggled with the placement of this one because I really do like this suit a lot. I mean, it's just very well designed. I mean, a purple dragon, it's basically like if Barney was a dragon and badass. The gold contrast, or the gold outline, excuse me, the trench coat-like design, really well done. And for the sake of it, I decided to basically make number 4 both versions of the suit, as there was a prototype version, as I couldn't think of a good reason to rank the other one higher or lower or whatever. I just like the prototype suit. I think it was a fun idea to see a prototype version, and I always kind of like the contrast with the white suit, the white boots, excuse me, and the white gloves and stuff. But yeah, this is a really great suit. Again, I struggled with the placement because I almost wanted to place it one higher above, but the deal breaker wound up being creeper lips on the Ranger helmet. Still always creep me out sometimes. Now coming in for the top 3, this one out because it didn't have those creeper lips like that, is Papillion Oger, and the only one of this that's a very different shade of purple. You know, most of these travel in the same neighborhood. This one goes for a lighter, what would you call this? Not magenta, that's Decade, that's Decade. Violet? Violet? No, violet is also purple. What is the light purple color? I feel like I had it in my head before I started filming and I forgot it. Regardless, it's a much lighter shade of purple. And I like this for multiple reasons. One, I really like getting to see a different shade of the color, kind of like what we did Crimson and Navy and stuff with Ninja Storm Hurricaneer. I thought it was cool to bring that in the mix. The fact that it kind of replaces what usually would be pink, and we now have the possibility of having this in the future, I thought was really cool and unique. In general, I really love the King Oger suits overall, especially the helmets, and this is still probably my favorite helmet of the main 5. Probably second favorite next to Kimono, so I'm not sure, but I just love love the suit all around, and I love how unique it is. Not to mention, Rita's great, their character is amazing. Coming in at the runner-up slot is Geki Violet, our original Purple Ranger slash Violet Ranger. I've always loved this suit. The fact that it was the first Purple Ranger made it exciting, but the fact that it was also one of the coolest suits made it even better. And I like how well his helmet fits in with the others. Like, the other three are feline, and then you get that kind of whisker-like effect when they get their power-up. And obviously, you know, then you have a canine, but the way it works with the outline he has, sort of similar to their power-up, makes him fit in, which is really cool. I mean, it's a badass wolf boxer, what's not to like? Sometimes, I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of some of the design patches and shapes on his suit, but overall, it's still one of my all-time favorite suits. But number one for me is Korag the Nightwolf slash Woolzord. Again, if you wanted to be like one of those purists, then technically speaking, my favorite Ranger suit is Geki Violet, but overall, purple, like Ranger adjacent is this one. It's so good. I mean, I remember when first pictures of this came out, people thought this was the 6th Ranger leaked early because he has such a Ranger-like helmet, but obviously that didn't end up being true. But it just works so well. I mean, again, badass Wolf Knight, what's not to like? I love the concept of just flipping over the Woolzord, the W for the Magi Ranger. We said it to Wumbo. He's the Wumbo Ranger. Again, what's not to like? But it's just so well designed. I'm a sucker for a good knight armor. It's got that Ranger aesthetic in there. Again, much like Void Knight, this character was a highlight of both series Magi Ranger and Mystic Force. Just easily not only my all-time favorite Purple Ranger-related suit, but one of my all-time favorite Toku suits, period. But that's just my list. Let me know what your ranking or maybe top 5 purple or purple-related Ranger suits are in the comments. Like I said, down the line, I will be doing character rankings for Sentai mmpr. But until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.